Welcome to Core Concepts. I'm your host, James Renford Powell, and on this show, we talk to people, to religious leaders and spiritual leaders about their beliefs. What do they believe? Why do they believe it? And what are they doing about it? In other words, how did they come to that belief? And how's it manifesting in their lives? And our guests have come from a very broad cross-section of what I'd call spiritual searchers, spirituality. And I think that on the internet you can find almost anything that you want to about any kind of religion, but I think that on Core Concepts you will find things that you didn't even know to look for. And they have been very interesting. I think if you would like, just go back up. If somebody has led you to this show, go back and take a look at some of the shows that have been shot over the last year and a half. Our cameraman is Cedric Moore, and he has been with this show from the very beginning. Today, the show comes to you from the Fellowship Hall of Unity Christian Church on McCorkle Rd in Memphis, Tennessee. My guest today is Reverend Brian Griffin, a long way from home. He is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He is affiliated with the Unity West of Greater Milwaukee, and his ministry is New Thought Internet Teaching Ministries, at which I had the opportunity to listen to, and they have a lot of fun on that ministry. You might want to check that out. How would they go to find New Thought Internet Teaching Ministries?
The website is www.ntitministries.com. That's where the ministry's website. Once you're on the home page, there is a form to fill out at the bottom, which is an e-subscription form. We send out video emails announcing when we're going to have broadcasts, where we're going to be. And if you fill that e-subscription form out, that puts you on our mailing list, and you will get information as to what we're going to be doing and when. We also have on the website an archive page. So if there's any of the broadcasts that a person has missed or they want to see again, just go to the archive page and you can see any of the previous broadcasts.
Oh, great. And how long have you been doing the New Thought Internet Teaching Ministries?
That has been in existence almost 3 years now, and it's been a wonderful journey, and there have been so many good and interesting classes that have come out of it, and people's lives have been transformed, because what the New Thought Internet Teaching Ministry is a virtual spiritual community that extends beyond physical and geographical borders. And it's a ministry that caters to you, to whatever your availability and your schedule is, which means you can tune into the broadcast either live or archived. So whenever it's convenient for a person, because we all have different work schedules, we have children that we've got to get off to school, things of that nature, that the ministry is set up for the individual's availability. And
it goes across, I would imagine, across doctrinal boundaries or church boundaries too.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. What we do is we present the ageless, transformative spiritual principles presented in the Bible with a 21st century flavor.
Now, you are a graduate of the Unity Urban Ministerial School. When was that?
That was in April of 2009.
Now, what led you to that? You didn't start out as a Unity member, did you?
No, I did not start out as a Unity member. My roots go back to the Holiness Church, and one of our things was my grandmother would take everybody to church on Sunday mornings, and that was what we had to do. If you didn't want to go to church on Sunday morning, you had to get out of the house. So it didn't matter what you did, but when Grandmama left the house, she locked the door behind her and there was nobody in the house. So we always went to church. But there was one particular Sunday I remember that made an impact for me. There was a minister from Chicago, Reverend Johnny Coleman. Johnny Coleman came to town, and I will never forget this. it was a special service, and Johnny Coleman pulled up in a white stretch limousine. And I'm looking at this well-dressed, poised, good-looking African-American woman going to church in a limousine, and it wasn't a funeral. I'm like, whoa! I need to find out what this woman is talking about. There is something about this that made an impact to me. And I began to listen to what she was saying, how she was saying it. And it was a teaching, not just a preaching, saying what you should do, what you should not do. This is the way you should live. This is the way you should not live. She began to teach people how to live a better life. And that made sense to me. And because it made sense to me, I began to listen to it more and more to see how I can demonstrate and do what this woman did. She made an impact on me. After continuing to follow that ministry for a while, I went into the Navy. After coming out of the Navy, I went into cosmetology school. I wanted to do what my grandfather said. He said, if you want to look at a career, he said, look at what most people do the first 15 minutes of their day.
Fix their hair.
And whatever a person does, or what the majority of people do the first 15 minutes of their day, that's where you make your career. So, in the first 15 minutes of a person's day, they're going to turn on the light. Okay? So, be an electrician.
Well, you didn't get into making toilets.
No, I didn't. But that's one of the things that people do in the first 15 minutes of their day. So be a plumber. Okay? A lot of people in the first 15 minutes of their day brush their teeth, make toothpaste, sell toothpaste, those types of things. That was his instruction to us. And since most people in the first 15 minutes of their day comb their hair, I went into hairstyling. And as I worked as a hairstylist in, I think, year 15 of my hairstyling career, I began to notice something about people. Is that even though I was doing a lot for the outside of a person, they were coming back the next week with the same broken spirit. They were coming back with the same problems. They were coming back with the same situations. And I said, now, it doesn't matter what I do to their hair. Something has got to be transformed on the inside of the person. I then began to follow my mother's footsteps because Johnny Coleman was a graduate of Unity School of Christianity in Lee Summit, Missouri. So with Johnny,
I think one of the first.
Yes, she was the first African American president of the Association of Unity Churches. And my mother said, okay, where did Johnny get her start? So since Johnny Coleman got her start with Unity, my mother then went to Unity School.
That's it.
And she became a Unity minister. I then, years later, followed that same trail. In owning a hair salon, what I started doing was the publication that Unity puts out, the Daily Word. I would put a Daily Word out on the coffee table where all the hairstyling magazines were. Every day, at the end of business, that Daily Word was gone. And I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute, I know I put one out in the morning, so I'd have to put another one out the next day. And every day, somebody was picking up that Daily Word. I started seeing that there was a need to work on the inside of a person, not just their outside. Reverend Ruth Mosley, who's the director of the Unity Urban Ministerial School, became one of my best clients.
Yeah, Ruth has been on our show.
She has, yes. I love her. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. So because of my schedule in the hair salon, Reverend Mosley structured classes that suited me, where she brought class to me. I would end up having class with my clients. They would schedule their hair appointments around when I was going to be teaching a class in the salon. So that's how this progression of things came.
And your intent has always been primarily to have an internet ministry, is it not? I mean, this is the direction you're moving, or?
The original intent, my purpose for being in the ministry is to assist truth seekers into becoming truth finders. My whole goal is to assist people in transforming their lives. And because that is my primary focus, I am open and receptive to the guidance and direction of God as to how that's going to work. Okay? I will not try to dictate to God how that message is delivered. Okay? I'm definitely open to saying, okay, God, you send me wherever I need to go and do whatever I need to do. And I've done the pastoring of churches. I've had a church here in Tennessee. I've pastored a church in Mississauga, Ontario. However, even with all of that, being able to reach a certain type of audience via the internet has been the most successful and the most gratifying to me. I know that church, from a traditional sense, has been brick and mortar. That's the way it's always been. However, I'm learning and believing that nowadays churches click and order. Okay. That there are people who, because of their schedules, are looking for something that fits when they can log on to or when they can tune into it. There are also a large number of people who cannot get to a church home, okay, or cannot make it to a service. So what do we do? How do we as ministers, how do we as clergy meet that ever-growing population? And it is via the internet. And that's where I am now, and I'm very, very grateful to Reverend Eric Donaldson, because the technology in how to do this, he kind of like turned me on to. And so because of that, I'm very, very grateful that it was him that introduced us to be able to take this venue. That's great.
I picked up some of the material that you were working with in your lecture or your talking today. I was very impressed with your section here on commitment.
Okay.
Because obviously you're committed. So tell us a little bit about that.
About commitment. There is so much about commitment, and I think it really starts with what you were saying originally, is to what do you believe, why do you believe it, and what are you doing about it? I'm looking at commitment in the same way. First of all, what are you committed to? Okay. There is a certain level of commitment that we have to, first of all, ourselves. What is the level of commitment, or what are you committed to for yourself? Are you committed to taking care of yourself? Self-care is very, very important. If you are committed to self-care, what are you doing about that? How important is self-care to you? And then how does that show up? We also have to be committed to God. Whatever the spiritual leader or that omnipotent being that a person tends to recognize, there has got to be some type of commitment to that being or that entity, so to speak. And that commitment means sticking to it and doing whatever it takes. And a lot of people have got to figure that out for themselves. No one, no minister, no clergy can dictate I believe, to an individual what their level of commitment should be. However, it is up to each and every one of us individually to come to a decision as to what they are committed to and why they are committed to it. To answer a question that you had earlier about what we believe and why, one of the things that I stand firm on is that I believe that it is the will of God that every individual live a healthy, happy, and prosperous life. I believe that thoughts are things. I believe that we are the thinker, that thinks the thought that creates the thing. Mind, talking about the mind, not the brain, but the mind is a very, very powerful tool. And it's how we perceive things in mind that makes the difference. A personal story as to why I believe what I believe, and I love telling this story because it is so exciting to me, is that as a hairstylist, one morning I had woke up and got out of bed and went to the floor. And my right hip was bothering me. And I'm like, come on, leg, you got to move right. I got to stand up. As a hairstylist, I can't make any money if I'm not standing up. That's what I got to do. So this went on, for several days, and I finally went to the doctor, and they took x-rays of it, and the doctor came back and said, well, Mr. Griffin, the x-rays show that you have inflammatory arthritis. I said, oh, wait a minute, stop. I don't want to hear that. He said, no, Mr. Griffin, you don't understand. I said, no, you don't understand. Okay? I personally am not going to wake up every day with somebody named Arthur who can't help pay his rent. So therefore, inflammatory Arthur has no place in my life. When I begin to change my concept and say, no, I am not going to have this. I learned that from Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle Fillmore left a meeting one night when E.B. Meeks, who wasn't E.B. Meeks, that said something that set a wave of things in motion for her. She left that meeting saying, I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. That was powerful to me. And I began to use that same philosophy about that right hip. I am a child of God, therefore inflammatory Arthur has no place in my life, in my body, in my world, or in my affairs. So when I began to change the way I thought about it, I also used, since I'm in Memphis, I can use this example as well. Elvis Presley helped me get rid of that problem. Because I played his song over and over again. Return to Sender. Address unknown. Because what happens if you get a piece of mail to your house and the person that it was addressed to no longer lives there? Wrong address, return to sender. So when that tried to come visit me, I said, oh no, you have the, return to sender. Or I did the Beyonce thing, to the left, to the left. That's what I mean when I say spiritual principles with a 21st century flavor. Okay? That's what I believe. Why I believe it, and what am I doing about it? Anytime somebody will listen to me tell those stories, I enjoy telling them because hopefully it will help transform your life as well. This is a teaching ministry, and if there has been anything in my life that you can learn something from, as an example, that's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm committed to doing, even if that commitment means opening myself up to be vulnerable and to tell things personally about myself and how I overcame them, then that's what I'm committed to.
You know, the books are plenty out there that talk to people about success and how to achieve your goals and your objectives, personal development. And if you break them all down, analyze them, they're all saying that you must know what you want, you must design a plan to get what you want, and you must have the desire to see the plan through. But that's almost like it's saying if you can put salt on the bird's tail, you can catch it. Because a lot of people don't know what they want. So I'm assuming that with your ministry, you're really working on helping people know what they want, what they're looking for.
It is that. Helping people know what they want is part of it. But I think it's more of letting people know what's available. Okay. I want to present, what was the restaurant we went to this afternoon?
China Inn.
China Inn. I want the ministry to be like the ultimate China Inn. Okay? Meaning this, I want people to be aware of what is available to them. If a person is aware that health is there, if a person is aware that prosperity is there, if a person is aware that peace is there, they can then work more at deciding what it is that they want. And when a person has a choice, I think it's a little easier for them to decide what it is that they want. There was a story that I heard one time about a couple that went on a cruise ship. And they had worked real hard and saved their money and did everything they could to go on this cruise. And when they packed their luggage, they packed 2 suitcases. One suitcase with clothes and another suitcase with Vienna sausages and crackers. So in the morning they got up and they opened up the suitcase with Vienna sausages and crackers and they ate something. They opened up the other suitcase and got dressed, and then they went out on the deck of the cruise ship. When it was time for lunch, they went back to their stateroom and they opened their suitcase and they ate Vienna sausages and crackers. Then went back out and did other things. And this went on for the entire time of the cruise. And some people that they had met told them that, you know, you've got to be at the captain's dinner, because that is the last night of the cruise. You've got to be there. They said, well, all we could afford was the price of the ticket. We can't afford that dinner. And their friends told them, said, but the food was included in the price. That's the way I feel spirituality is, or life is, with a lot of people, that they are living their lives eating Vienna sausages and crackers because they don't know, they're not aware that everything is included. They don't know what else is out there. They don't know what's available. When a person knows that healing is available, then they can say, that's what I want. When a person knows that they don't have to be broke, that's available. When a person learns that abundance is mine, I don't have to be pent down, all stressed and upset because this is going on in the world. So it's not that I want to tell people what to believe. I want to make them aware, which is basically expanding a person's consciousness. And when the awareness, when the consciousness is expanded, it can never, ever go back to eating Vienna sausages and crackers.
It's a lot about loving what you do, too, is it not?
Yes,
I mean, it seems like every success story that I see, I mean, you enjoy doing what you do.
Oh, yes.
And people who are the most successful in whatever they're doing, it's because they love to do it. Even if it starts in a garage with a, you know, a makeshift operation.
Mm-hmm. And from the message this morning, I mean, I don't want to go back over and do the entire message, but that was one of the things that we talked about this morning, was how love shows up in your commitment. When you're really committed to something, we said, first of all, this morning, that love shows up as belief. Do you really believe what you are committed to? The second way love shows up in your commitment is that you begin to invest in it. That you invest your time, you invest your money, you invest your energy, you invest everything into it. That's how love shows up. The third way that love shows up in your commitment is through your persistence. Meaning you stick to it. You don't let anything stop you from doing it. You see, with the internet ministry, there were a couple of times that there was no one logged on to the broadcast. And I didn't know, should I keep doing this? Am I being effective? And I began to ask people, what is it? Am I being effective? Did you get something out of it? I had to keep asking over and over and over again to find out what the niche was. Where was I missing something? And when people started answering me and giving those responses, I kept going, I kept adding, I kept hitting it over and over and over again. Love shows up as commitment. And the fourth reason, or the fourth way that love shows up in your commitment is in your excitement. I mean, do you really, I mean, this turns me on. You know, I'm excited about this. That's how love shows up in the commitment. It doesn't matter what's going on. I can speak to two people just as the same as I'm speaking to 200. Because I love this. There is an enthusiasm that I have about my commitment. There is nothing but nothing that will ever stop me from doing what I'm doing. Because if it reaches one person, mission accomplished. If it reaches 1,000 people, mission accomplished. But I do know one thing. If I don't know anything else, my life has been transformed. And with my life being transformed, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and hopefully somebody will learn something from it. And they'll say, you know what? That guy got something I want. Just like I looked at Johnny Coleman in that white stretch limousine, and it wasn't a funeral. That's what I want somebody to look at me and say, you know something? I like this.
I wonder if we could have the studio audience ask some questions.
Sure.
You got some time for that. And
I love that.
If we don't have it, then I'll turn over the latter part of the show. How much time do we have? Because we started a little bit late. I'm not on target with it.
You've been on 35 minutes.
Okay, all right, so we've got plenty of time.
Okay.
When we get through with the questions, then I want to turn it over to you for you to give a message to our viewers, whatever you want to say. Okay?
Okay.
All right, but let's start now. Do we have a question? Don't tell me he did such a good job, nobody's got any questions.
Okay, yeah, we got some questions. Come on, baby. What's your question?
I don't know where to start. I have so many. Let me start with this one.
Okay.
I missed you this morning. My question is, I have a passion for single mothers, single working mothers,
Okay.
who don't make a living wage. They just make a wage. Maybe they can't even pay the babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of those people in my house right now.
Okay.
Only she's not working. She has birthed 13 children.
Okay.
I want to get to a place of love, that commitment you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live that I speak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding a lot of other issues going on in my head in response to her being there.
Mm-hmm.
How can I get to some divine love where I'm not feeling so much resentment because of her being in my house
Mm-hmm.
so that I can support my own passion and be true to it. Because I'm ambivalent right now, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I need some love from within, and how can I get to it? Because it just ain't there right now. Okay?
Right. I
Do
feel
you understand what I'm saying to you?
girl, we there.
Okay.
Okay. We're there.
Help me.
Okay. Because what I'm doing is simply repeating what you said in a little bit of different words. Okay. What I heard, now tell me if I'm wrong, I heard she's not working. I heard she has birthed 13 children.
Yes.
Okay. I've heard she's in my house.
Yes.
I've heard I'm upset. Okay. That's what I heard. Okay. I did not hear she is a child of God. Now, this is where the love comes in. Is that we recognize that individual for who they are in pure being. Not the appearance. Not what is on the outer. Okay, let's get rid of all of the labels. Let's get rid of all of the circumstances. And get down to the real core of it. Yeah, she ain't got no job. Yeah, she living in my house. Yeah, she got 13 kids. Yeah, she ain't helping out. Yeah, all of that's there. We're not saying that that does not exist. But let's get past all of that. And not focus on the outside circumstances. And get down to the core. And that's what love is. Love is the unifying harmonizer. Love has nothing to do with how much you like her. Anybody got relatives? I have some relatives I do not like. I'm just being honest. Okay. However, I love them because what I'm looking at is there is something that we have in common. And what it is that we have in common is that we are all created in the image and likeness of God. And that's what Genesis 1:26 tells us. Okay, God said, let us create mankind in our image and after our likeness. In essence, what God did was God took a selfie and posted it as each one of us. So we are all created in the image likeness of God. So we start there. There is something that we have in common. Now that we have this in common, let's begin to build and layer things on top of there. Looking at the list like you listed all of the faults. Okay. Now let's start listing some of the positives. Okay. She is a child of God. She is made in the image, and we're going to keep working with that. I'd love to be able to work with you more one-on-one with these things, but that's where it starts. To begin to find out what it is that we have in common. The next thing, after we would do that, would be then to look at ourselves. Know who we are. Now, yes, this is your passion, so it's in finding, do you have Thurman Evans' book, From Purpose to Promise-Driven Life? That's one you'll want to get, because Thurman Evans in that book talks about the intersection between your passion and your promise. And that was what Jesus was able to find. He had a passion for what he was doing. He had a passion for teaching people, and that passion had an intersection with his mission. And once that passion and that mission had an intersection, boom, his ministry blew up. So what your passion is, you already know what it is. Now it's about finding that intersection between your passion and your purpose. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is, once we know who we are, even though we have that passion, it's also about knowing yourself and setting up boundaries. Okay. Yes, you love your passion, and yes, this is where your passion is. However, and I want to say this with all kindness as possible, but sometimes tough love is best. Okay. This is my house. Okay, and I love you, but I have to set boundaries. I am not going to be inconvenienced or made feel less than a child of God myself when someone else does not respect those boundaries. As a hairstylist, I owned a hair salon for 20 years. The one thing that I would not do, and this was just my personal choice, was I would not do hair at home. Because that was my time away from the job. I didn't take work home with me. Okay. Someone wanted their hair done, they made an appointment and they came to the salon. There was a boundary that I set up. I had to have some personal time for myself, because when I'm at home, I like to be relaxed. I like to be comfortable. I like to, when I want to have, something to drink and have my soda or whatever in the living room, and with my shoes off and feet propped up, that's what I want to do. I don't want to have people coming in saying, look, I need my hair done, I got this party to go to. No. We set boundaries. Sometimes setting those boundaries may seem or appear that you are being harsh, that you're being uncaring, but that's not true. You ever been on an airplane?
Oh, yes.
Okay, when they give you the speech on the airplane, what do they tell you? In the event of loss of cabin pressure, the thing will drop down, the air mask. What are you supposed to do?
Put it on yourself first.
It's about self-love. Take care of you. Then you can begin to extend that passion to others. I hope those three things have helped to begin the process.
Did you have a follow-up question, or did that answer you?
That question has been answered. In my defense, let me say she came wanting to stay one night. She's been there going on 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And yes, I have set some boundaries.
Okay.
I have.
Good.
At the same time,
Mm-hmm.
initially when I posed the question, I told you I had ambivalent feelings.
Okay.
Yes, I love her.
Okay.
At the same time, however,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have 13 children.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my resentment
Okay.
is sitting.
Uh-huh.
When I love and I'm passionate about single mothers.
Uh-huh.
How can I form this 501 based on that whole thing?
Okay.
Here's my blood in
Uh-huh.
my house and just kick her out, which is what is about to happen.
Okay.
So yes, I heard everything you said.
Okay. Good. There's more to it. And see,
Oh,
that's
yes.
okay.
Yes.
As I hear more, I can direct a little bit or advise in certain things. Okay. Some things I will not touch. Okay. However, there are people who can assist you in that, in setting up that 501c3, and I'm sure Reverend Eric can, and you can put her in touch with some people that can help that ball rolling. But the first thing to do is to recognize She is a child of God. Not only is she a child of God, but you've got 13 more children of God to bless. Oh, another thing is that each one of them, so there are 14 different souls that have come into your life to teach you something. They've come into your life for a purpose. So say, God, what is it that soul number 8 has to teach me? And teach me. Soul number 8 is not going to leave until you have learned what they came to give you. Soul number 9 is going to stick around until you learn the lesson that you are to get from them. Soul number 1 is there to bless you. And say, God, whatever it is that I got to get from this, whatever blessing it is I have to get, let me learn.
That's why she's still there, actually.
Okay, so there's something you got to learn.
Yeah.
And trust. When you learn it, they're going to be gone. And you won't have to do a thing. And the exit is going to be so smooth. Because you have learned what the reason is. You have received the blessing from that. You will have learned the lesson. And once you learn that lesson, they're gone.
I'm so waiting on the smoothness.
Yes. Oh, honey, we all waiting on the smoothness. Sometimes the smoothness does not come because we are still resisting the lesson.
Yes.
Even though we understand what the lesson is. But there is resistance because it is not always change that's problematic for us. Okay? We can deal with change. But it's our resistance to the newness that causes the problem. There is resistance when relationships end. Because we aren't ready for that. We prefer to stay with the devil we know, for lack of a better term, than to venture out and try something different. It's about getting outside of our, and see, people always say it's comfort zone, but once we get in this box, that's not your comfort zone, that's your danger zone. So it's in stepping outside of that where our resistance comes in. So in stepping outside of things, that resistance to want to hold on to the status quo, the way things are, our unwillingness to change, our unwillingness to grow, that sometimes, in some cases, and to our viewing audience, if we really look at it sometime, if we really look at ourselves and start to ask ourselves, what am I afraid of? Now, I can't tell you what it is that you may be afraid of, but when it comes to growth, when it comes to expansion, the resistance to progress, a lot of it is there because we are afraid of moving forward. Some people are afraid of success. And when they're afraid of success, they stay a failure all their lives. There are some people, believe it or not, who are afraid of finally being happy. So to avoid actually feeling that bliss, to avoid being at peace with themselves, they stay in the situations that they're in. Now that's not to say that anything is wrong with that person or that individual. It's just that that's where they are in consciousness. And it's okay. Be there, acknowledge that, and be willing to say, I want to grow. And if we say, I want to grow, that is the first step to progress, to moving forward.
Do we have time for another question?
Oh. Let's see. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Love the story about the Vienna sausage and cracker carrying couple.
That's great. That's great.
On the ship. My question is, how does one go from being a Vienna sausage and cracker carrying couple, or having a Vienna sausage and cracker consciousness, to say a champagne and caviar consciousness, whatever that looks like for an individual? What are some of the steps someone can take today in making that progress?
Biblically, let's put it like this. There was another event that happened where lack was the driving focus. It was just before the Passover, and everybody had heard and saw all of these wonderful things that Jesus had done, and it just so happened there was about 5,000 fellas, and they didn't even think to count the women and children. And Jesus looked up and saw all of these people and asked one of his buddies, said, how are we going to feed all of these folks? And one of them said, well, Lord, 2 months' wages wouldn't get enough money for us to give everybody 1 Vienna sausage and 1 cracker. Jesus' reply was this. He said, I didn't ask you because I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm asking you because this is a training session. This is what I want you to do. First thing, make the people sit down. That was the first thing. What that means to us metaphysically and how we go from a Vienna sausage and cracker to champagne lifestyle. First thing, make the people sit down. Metaphysically, the people represent our thoughts. We've got to make those thoughts sit down. The monkey brain stuff, all of those voices that we hear in our head, make those thoughts sit down. I don't have enough. There's not enough to go around. I'm the wrong color. I'm the wrong sex. I'm the wrong age. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm gay. I'm straight. Who cares? Make the people sit down. That was the first thing he did. Then the next thing was, somebody came up and said, there's a boy here with a Spider-Man lunchbox. And he's got 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Now, anybody have teenage children? Okay, 2 fish sandwiches is not going to feed 1 teenage boy. Jesus took, I love how this says, they told Jesus that this boy had 2 fish and 5 loaves. Scripture then turns around and says Jesus took the loaves. Jesus did not count what the food was. See, if there is a seeming lack of money, what we have a tendency to do is we're going to count every penny. Yes, count your penny, but start blessing that. Jesus never counted. He took what was there. He then blessed it. When he blessed what was there, first of all, make those thoughts sit down. Take what you have, even if it is a Vienna sausage and cracker. You take that, bless that. Then the next thing that he did was he began to distribute the food, which means take action. To move from Vienna sausage and cracker to champagne, okay, it takes, first of all, making those thoughts sit down. Take what you have, bless that, and then take action on that. Let's say it like this: plan your work and then work your plan. Because if you don't work your plan, why even make the plan?
Sounds like thankfulness is the key.
Yes, you have to be thankful for what you have. You have to be grateful for what you have, but you also have to be grateful for what is. Because if we only look at gratitude for what we have, then Jesus would have said, thank you, God, for these 2 fish and 5 loaves. And those 5,000 men probably would not have been fed. So it's being grateful for what you have and then being grateful for what it is that is to come.
Do we have another question
We
yet?
have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. You got a quick question then? No? Let's go back to the address. Let's have your, let's do that again. so we
Okay,
make sure.
the website for the New Thought Internet Teaching Ministries, www.ntitministries.com. My email address?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I can be reached via email, revbgriffin@gmail.com.
I want to thank you very much for being with us on Core Concepts today.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoyed this, to be able to talk about what I believe, why I believe it,
And what I'm doing about it.
and you see what I'm doing about it. I'm having a ball.
And I want to thank the Unity Christian Church for the facilities here. And thank you for being with us this week. And next week, we have another very interesting guest on Core Concepts.